Take a moment to picture the incredible scale of human existence today. Right now, there are over 8 billion of us breathing, working, and living across every single landmass on this planet. We are a species that has conquered the globe, from the neon-lit penthouses of New York to the freezing fishing villages of Norway, from the Australian outback to the highlands of Peru, speaking thousands of languages and creating a staggering diversity of cultures. Yet, beneath this beautiful, chaotic mosaic lies a biological truth that should absolutely blow your mind. If you trace our ancestral footprints back through the sands of time, every single path, without a single exception, leads to exactly one continent: Africa. We didn't miraculously appear in multiple places at once like some grand, parallel evolutionary experiment. The entire human story, every cognitive leap, every physical adaptation, everything we are and everything we have built, began exclusively in one place. For over a century, this singular origin has been the ultimate scientific paradox. Why did the evolutionary spark of human intellect ignite only there, while other primates spread and specialized across the rest of the old world? With all our advanced genome sequencing, fossil records, and ancient DNA analysis, you would think the answer was obvious by now. But until very recently, scientists were missing the final pieces of the puzzle. Tonight, we are going to unlock the mystery of our creation. We will explore how groundbreaking discoveries in genetics, extreme paleoclimatology, and geographic isolation have converged to reveal a terrifying and beautiful truth. You will finally understand why your resilient body, your complex brain, and your very existence could only have been forged in the uncompromising, relentless crucible of the African continent. For decades, the scientific establishment looked for our origins in all the wrong places. When the first Neanderthal bones were discovered in Europe in the 1800s, and Peking man was unearthed in China in the 1920s, many assumed the cradle of humanity lay far from the African savanna. The prejudice of the era made it almost unthinkable that human origins could trace back to a continent dismissed by European colonizers. But the Earth holds its own truth, and the fossils began to tell an undeniable story. The breakthrough began in 1924 with the Taung child, a skull with features that didn't match any known ape. Over the next century, every major discovery proved this right, capped by the iconic find of Lucy in 1974. Deep within the Great Rift Valley, layer upon layer of ancient sediment revealed an unbroken chain of human evolution. From the first hominins walking upright to the earliest stone toolmakers, every transitional species was found in one single nursery. However, bones alone can only show us what our ancestors looked like. They cannot prove a direct, unbroken bloodline. For that ultimate proof, we needed the genetic revolution. In 1987, scientists analyzing mitochondrial DNA discovered something truly astonishing. Every human alive today descends from a single female ancestor who lived in Africa roughly 200,000 years ago, our mitochondrial Eve. Then came the final puzzle piece, the diversity paradox. If you sample the DNA of billions of people across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, you will find less genetic variation than exists within a single African village. Because genetic diversity accumulates slowly over time, this proves beyond any doubt that African populations are the ancient, original source. The rest of the world is just a tiny, recent offshoot, carrying only 5 to 10% of that variation. The molecular clock flawlessly matched the fossil record, proving our genesis is coded deep within our blood. Now that we know human evolution happened exclusively in Africa, we must ask, what made this continent the ultimate evolutionary pressure cooker? The answer lies in the sky. Between 3 million and 1 million years ago, East Africa experienced something unprecedented. The climate didn't just change, it oscillated wildly and relentlessly. Picture your ancestors living in a lush, predictable forest. Then, over just a few generations, the trees die, the lakes evaporate, and the world transforms into an open, unforgiving savanna. A few thousand years later, the forests return. This was not a single shift, but a cosmic toggle switch flipping back and forth for 2 million years. In a stable environment, natural selection favors specialists, creatures perfectly adapted to one specific niche. But in a chaotic, unpredictable world, specialization is a death sentence. To survive, you must become a generalist. You must develop cognitive adaptability, the ability to learn, to innovate, and to plan ahead for the inevitable dry seasons. This is the variability selection hypothesis. Our ancestors weren't just adapting to the forest or the savanna. They were adapting to change itself. East Africa sat in the perfect Goldilocks zone. It was warm enough to survive without thick fur, yet challenging enough to force continuous innovation. Unlike Europe's slow, predictable ice ages, or South America's stagnant tropical rainforests, Africa's rapidly shifting climate was a relentless personal trainer. It pushed our ancestors to their absolute limits without driving them to extinction. During periods of maximum climate instability, human brain size literally doubled, hardwiring us to become the ultimate problem-solving survivors. If climate was the blazing forge of human evolution, then geography was its unbreakable anvil. For millions of years during our critical development, Africa was effectively a massive island, locked in by oceans, the Mediterranean Sea, and the unforgiving Sahara. In Eurasia, early populations could simply walk away and migrate south when conditions got tough. But in Africa, there was no easy escape hatch. Our ancestors were trapped in a continental-scale laboratory where they faced a brutal binary choice: adapt or die. Pause. This created an intense selection trap that drove unprecedented innovation. But the true genius of this laboratory was the Sahara Desert itself. Today, we see it as a permanent wasteland, but it wasn't always so. Driven by shifting climate cycles, the Sahara repeatedly transformed from a lush green corridor into a deadly barrier of sand and back again. This acted as a massive biological pump. When it was green, diverse human groups mixed, sharing genes and revolutionary ideas. When the desert returned, populations were isolated, forcing local adaptations to uniquely extreme conditions. Inside the continent, the Great Rift Valley carved up the land into a mosaic of distinct ecological islands. Deep, permanent lakes served as vital refuge zones during deadly megadroughts, compressing different tribes together around scarce water. Pause. This forced compression ignited fierce competition and explosive cultural exchange. Ideas spread like wildfire, and when the rains finally returned, hybrid populations scattered across the landscape carrying upgraded technologies. No other landmass possessed this flawless machinery of isolation and connection. Africa was the ultimate evolutionary engine. Imagine stepping out of your shelter onto the African savanna 2 million years ago. You are not the apex predator. In fact, you are not even close. In the tall grass, a pride of lions is scanning for their morning kill. Crocodiles wait with prehistoric patience by the water. Leopards lounge in the branches above. Africa possessed the most diverse and sophisticated community of predators the world has ever assembled, and they were all better at killing than you. On other continents, early hominids faced maybe one or two major predators. But in Africa, our ancestors were forced into an evolutionary pressure cooker that demanded constant innovation just to stay alive. Pause. To survive, humans had to develop theory of mind, the ability to anticipate and predict the complex behavior of multiple predator species simultaneously. But predators were only half the equation. The savanna was also home to colossal megafauna. Straight-tusked elephants standing 14 feet tall, massive rhinos, and buffalo with horn spans wider than cars. Taking down these giants required a level of cooperation, communication, and planning unprecedented in the animal kingdom. You couldn't just specialize. You had to coordinate with dozens of others, manufacture specialized spears, and execute complex traps. Furthermore, because African animals evolved alongside humans for millions of years, they developed sophisticated anti-predator instincts. They knew we were dangerous. This sparked a relentless cognitive arms race. We had to become smarter to hunt prey that was actively adapting to avoid us, and we had to outthink predators that actively hunted us. Every kill site became a natural laboratory where early humans acted as forensic ecologists, reading blood and bone to understand anatomy and survival. This terrifying ecosystem didn't just test our physical strength. It forged the very foundation of human intelligence. 4 million years ago, an ancestor stood fully upright in the African savanna, freeing their hands from locomotion. This revolutionary act set the stage for an unprecedented cognitive explosion. By 2.5 million years ago, early hominids were manufacturing standardized stone tools, striking rocks with precision to create sharp edges. This required abstract thinking and fine motor control, sparking a brutal but efficient feedback loop. Better tools provided access to nutrient-dense meat and bone marrow, which was crucial because brains are incredibly expensive to maintain. As our ancestors ate more meat, their digestive tracts shrank, allowing the human brain to more than double in size over 2 million years. But a bigger brain needed a stage to truly awaken, and that arrived roughly 1 million years ago with the mastery of fire. Fire changed absolutely everything. It cooked food, unlocking more calories, and kept terrifying predators at bay in the dark. Most importantly, fire extended the social day. Picture your ancestors sitting around the glowing embers, sharing knowledge, planning the next hunt, and telling stories. In that protected, illuminated space, language evolved into a sophisticated survival technology. This shared communication allowed vital knowledge about droughts and predators to be passed down through generations. By 100,000 years ago, this cognitive revolution culminated in abstract art and symbolic body painting with red ochre. Africa's relentless pressures had forged not just a surviving body, but a complex, storytelling mind capable of dominating the planet. For decades, we had the pieces, but between 2023 and 2024, the final revelation snapped the puzzle together. Genomic researchers analyzing DNA from hundreds of thousands of individuals uncovered a terrifying history of near extinction. They discovered multiple severe population bottlenecks that occurred exclusively in Africa. The most brutal of these struck around 930,000 years ago and lasted for 117,000 unforgiving years. Driven by apocalyptic megadroughts, our ancestors' population plummeted to the brink of annihilation. While other primates like chimpanzees and gorillas responded to these crises by retreating into specific ecological niches, humans responded with explosive innovation. Paleontologists in Kenya recently unearthed a skull from 760,000 years ago, right after this great bottleneck, revealing a brain that had rapidly expanded in size. Alongside it were advanced hafted stone tools, proving that the pressure of near extinction had forced our ancestors to invent rather than merely survive. This utterly obliterates the old idea that humans evolved simultaneously across the globe. We did not. Every single non-African population descends from a tiny group of survivors who left Africa less than 100,000 years ago. The superficial differences between us today, like skin color and facial features, are just minor, recent adaptations to local climates that evolved only in the last 60,000 years. The core of who we are, our complex social intelligence, our boundless creativity, and our unyielding resilience, is entirely African. Look at the person next to you. You are looking at a fellow survivor. We are all bound by an extraordinary legacy, carrying the unbreakable spirit of Africa in our DNA, forever united by the perilous journey that made us human.